that I was down in the city, possibly the District of Columbia. And it was a bright day, and the clouds were in the sky. And I saw that there were three dragons that were made of smoke, and colorful and powerful in the sky. And these dragons were, you know, just amazing. I'm going to elaborate because I'm going to stop and explain, because my notes are written for me. They're not written for necessarily sharing. They're just written so that I can remember. But what I want to do is I want to elaborate so that you can understand what I saw in my dream a little better. Okay. So the colors of the dragons were red, and they had some parts that were yellow, and it looked like a full dragon. It wasn't like a cloud. It was like a dragon, fully detailed, but I knew that they were made of smoke. Okay. And the point of that was that it was just, they filled the sky. It was like they were just massive, these three dragons. Okay. And I was looking up at them, and I was amazed. I was like, what is going on? Now, prior to me seeing the dragons, I had looked to the left, and I was walking up, and I just saw the ocean front. It was kind of like, I saw like a seashore, and I was like, oh, that's nice, but it's not something I would see in the District of Columbia, because I didn't see something that looked like a beach in the District of Columbia in real life, but I saw something that looked like a beach in this dream. So then I was walking up, and that's when I saw the dragons. Now, other people were looking at the dragons too, and they were amazed. And some people took out guns and they started shooting at the dragons, but they had no effect. And then my eyes was focused in on this one little boy who had a Nerf gun, and he also decided to shoot at the dragons, and he shot at the dragon. And when he shot at the dragon, a little puff of smoke came in the dragon, and the dragon was not affected. And then I was told kind of like why I was shown the boy with the Nerf gun. And the Nerf gun, the boy, he said, this is the might of the United States military. It was like I was made aware that this would be the might of, it's like they would be able to fire, but it would have no effect. And what happened was the stuff that was coming was so overwhelming, and they weren't prepared for it. All right, so then I'm walking up, and there was these steps that led to a platform, and there was some police or security officers or something like that up on the top of this platform. One of them was wearing a white uniform, and then the other one was wearing like a dark uniform, like a black or a blue, okay, and a dark blue. And what happened was they were sitting together and they were talking as friends. And then I walked up and I began to talk to them, and it was kind of like I was given something to say to them. And I said to them, I asked them a question. I said, are you prepared to work for 6 to 7 months with no pay? And receive a card. It was kind of like a debit card that would just allow them to get groceries and basic essentials for their family. And I said an organized invasion was coming. And as they were pondering this, I turned back to look at the sea again, and at that very moment, it's like the whole seascape it was transformed into paper. And then what happened was I was shown ships that were, some of them had dragons on the top of them, like dragon heads. And then it was like I was shown the same dragons in the sky were now on ships. And it was like briefly I was shown the color, and then it was turned white, like they were on paper. And it was kind of like a form of Oriental art, but it was very detailed, 3D. And what happens is I was seeing them and other ships coming in also, that didn't have dragons. It was just, I was made aware that in the dream that the ships with the dragons were the attack from the same people who attacked by air or invaded by air. The ships from the with the dragons were the exact same people, but there were other groups that were also involved in the invasion, and I wasn't shown who they were, but I have my speculations about that. Okay. And what happened was I was shown the paper, and then it was like I was made aware. It was like the Lord was telling me, or just dropping in the knowledge, and he said, this has been planned. They were planning this the whole time, and and then this is what is going on. And the reason why he showed me the paper was because he was emphasizing the fact that the paper emphasizes a plan, and these were the things that these forces had been planning for a long time, or had made plans to do. All right. Then what happened was I left those guys, and they were still contemplating what I had said. And I was walking on the street, and then what happens is I saw all kinds of traffic. People were leaving the city. Oh yeah, this is what the Spirit is telling me. He said to tell you guys also the importance of the people shooting the guns up at the sky. He says that the private citizens, or people trying to, take law into their own hands and trying to be a militia, still it's going to be overwhelming. You're not going to be able to defend against what's coming. So because it's going to be so rapid and so powerful, it's an overwhelming display of power. And it's stuff that we haven't even, I don't think it's stuff that we have even experienced yet. Okay. So anyway, that's what was going on. Then what happens is I was shown traffic. Everyone was trying to leave the city. Everyone was trying to leave the city. And as people were trying to leave, there were accidents. And I saw this, and then it was kind of like I was being shown specific things. And I saw this RV, and it was trying to go up a hill, and it was this massive accident where the RV had been broken in half. And then a person who had all the cans and stuff, like they were preppers, and they had all these cans stored away, and they felt like the RV was going to be their like safety net. The RV was broken in half, and all these cans kept rolling into the street. It's like soda, cans of food, whatever. And no one was picking them up. No one was picking up the cans. Everyone was so focused on getting out of the city that no one cared about that. And it was like, and then what I believe that was saying with that RV was people who prep, and are preppers who are storing away food. There's going to be something that breaks that cycle. And then you will not be able to do what you think you're doing. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, as I said in another video, this is going to affect everybody, every place. And it's going to be so overwhelming, because what happens is this is the beginning just before Christ returns. And these things are going to happen, and it's going to affect you. You can't isolate yourself from this thing, because it's going to affect you in some way. Even if you think you have a bug out plan and you got all this stuff going on and you got contingencies upon contingencies, it's like what's happening is going to be overwhelming. So I'm going to keep. And then the other thing is, you need to be praying and focusing on God, because He's the only one that's going to get you out of this. Because some people will die, but they'll die being saved. Some people are going to have to suffer, but they will be given the resources and the peace of God. But it's not about your own preparedness. It's not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. So the thing is, you got to be focused on the Spirit, believing in Jesus as your safety net.
Where I was standing somewhere in America, I don't know exactly where I was. And as I stood, I said to him, "What are we doing here?" And he said, "Just observe." And as I continued to observe, everything was perfect. Kids were playing, people were shopping, the sun was shining. It was just a beautiful day in America. Then all of a sudden, the man disappeared. And as he disappeared, I looked up into the heavens and I saw only what I can describe, ladies and gentlemen, as raining missiles. And these missiles were coming down into America, but they did not have any smoke. They didn't have any fire. It was so silent. You could only visually see them. And they basically, whatever they came in contact with, it was totally destroyed. Houses were destroyed, trees, children, everything that they came in contact with was totally destroyed. And as I stood there, some of these missiles had soldiers on them. And when the soldiers landed in America, one of them came up to me and he said to me, "Oh, who are you? Are you an American?" And I said to him, "No, I'm not." And I said, "Are you an American soldier?" Thinking that he was there to save the people. And he said, "No, we are Russian soldiers and we're here to take over America." And as the destruction and carnage continued, there was death everywhere. People lost their limbs, their hands, their feet. It was total carnage. And as I stood there, I saw huge ships coming into America. The people were just soldiers up on top of soldiers were just coming in America, conquering America, lining up the people. They were just being chained up in chains, and it was just horrific sight. There was warplanes everywhere. I tried my best to come out of America, but I was stuck in there. And there was just total carnage, and America was never the same again. You know, all my Facebook prophetic messages, at the moment I've put my hashtag on it, pray for the USA, because I believe that something great is coming to the United States. But I continue to pray for the people of the United States. I pray for my brothers and sisters in Christ.
I am coming to you with a dream that I had a couple nights ago. So the dream was about an invasion of Russia coming onto American soil. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. It started out where I had a dream in the dream that a helicopter was flying low or near the White House, and there was some sort of event or ceremony taking place. The soldiers in the helicopter began to open fire, so bullets were spraying everywhere, and of course the target was political figures. In that dream, I was trying to warn people, anyone that would listen really, about the dream that I had about this attack that was going to take place. So as I tried to tell people about it, they would interrupt me with just no nonsense talk. They weren't listening to me, or they would turn to their friends and start carrying on a conversation with them, or they would just straight up walk away from me. There were maybe a handful of people that were kind of interested in hearing it. But I really remember one guy in the dream. He was a Chinese American guy, and he was a doctor. He was a very prominent doctor. He was very charismatic. He was very personable, very kind. He was just kind of there and wanted to hear the dream. And he seemed unusually interested in the details about that dream. So I told him the dream along with some other people, but then the scene switched in the dream, and I found myself standing in this gazebo. Gazebos are usually smaller in size, but this one was so big. There were many people, standing all around me, and I just kind of had this knowledge that it was Americans specifically. We were all in there together. So there was only one entrance to that gazebo. There were people to the left of me, to the right of me, and standing kind of like to the back of me too. But I was more toward the front. And everyone seemed to just kind of be like talking to their friends on the phone. And I remember I still had that dream on my mind. And I wanted to tell people, but before I could, I looked out and I saw thousands and thousands of paratroopers everywhere surrounding us. And they weren't like way up in the sky either. Like their feet were almost touching the ground. My only thought in that moment was, here we go. It has begun. And I could hear the panic welling up in people. Some were crying, some were kind of like shrieking out of terror. And when I saw them, I instantly knew that they were not American soldiers. And, amongst the confusion, I had like a real sense of peace. I knew the Holy Spirit was with me. I was protected. I was safe. No matter what happened to me, I was going to be okay, regardless of what happened. I just accepted whatever was to come, and I was at peace. But the people around me, as I mentioned, were not at peace. And so I remember turning to them and saying, calm down, don't make a huge scene. It's very, very important that you guys stay calm. And for some reason it was extremely important that everyone stayed calm and cooperated. So as the soldiers landed on the ground, they were very skilled. They were very well trained. They were very fit. And you could tell they'd been training for a long time for this sort of thing. As soon as their feet touched the ground, it's like they just undid their parachutes. They were quick. There was this one man, he was older than like a lot of the other troops. I think he was a commander. Like that was the sense that I got in the dream. He was fit too, is very, very much in shape, very, very well trained, and in charge. And he started coming for me, walking toward me. As he walked toward me, he was speaking Russian, and I didn't understand him, but I did see like he had just crystal blue eyes, and he was balding just a little bit. I just knew he was an authority figure, like he was over those other troops. So as I said, he was speaking Russian, and I didn't understand him, and he held his hand out to me, and he had a really thick accent when he spoke English, but he could speak English too. And he said, come with me. And I knew to cooperate. I had no other choice. We were all being taken somewhere. So then the scene switches. So I found myself all of a sudden in this building. It almost appeared to be like a big, huge warehouse. There were people, tons and tons of Americans, and there seemed to be paperwork being processed. There were lines, long lines of people, I guess waiting to get their paperwork done. They were being questioned incessantly by some of these soldiers. Some people were crying. I just heard panic all around me. And like at this point in the dream, I was just watching everything. I can't even tell you if that Russian soldier that told me to go with him and was with me. I noticed when I looked straight ahead, there was this woman. I guess she was getting ready to have her paperwork and stuff like that processed. And I hate to say it this way, but she was kind of being a Karen. She was being very belligerent, very obstinate. She did not want any part of this, you know? So she was saying, this is my country. How dare you? You're not going to take away my freedom. You can't do this, basically. And she was just pushing back, you know? There were soldiers everywhere, like watching every move everyone was making. And so there was a soldier kind of like standing in front of her, but then there was a soldier standing directly in back of her, but kind of to her right. And she didn't see him. And as she continued to complain and push back and argue, the soldier in back of her he pulled out a machete. Without any word, without any warning, he beheaded her. And I'm sorry if this is a little graphic, but I'm telling my dream exactly the way it happened. So the soldier that was standing in front of her bent down to where her head had landed on the floor, and he began to move her lips, like he was mocking her. He was definitely mocking her, and he was speaking in Russian. But it was downloaded into me that he was saying, "What do you have to say now? What do you have to say now?" There were other Russian soldiers around him, and they were like his buddies or whatever, and they were laughing, and it was just so funny to them, like a joke, right? But I'm telling you, these soldiers meant business, and they did not care, and they did not have an ounce of remorse. Not an ounce. I was horrified. So then I looked to my left, and I saw the Chinese American man that I told you about in the beginning of the dream, the one that, was really listening to my dream that I had. I saw him, and I noticed he was like freely walking around. He wasn't being held against his will like we were, like Americans were. And we locked eyes. I locked eyes with him. And in that moment, I knew that he knew that I knew that he was on their side, the Russians. He had not been captured. He was a part of this. And then I noticed that he had this device. It was the size of a flip phone. I don't know what kind of device it was. I just know that it was really high tech. It was super high tech. I'd never seen anything like it. It was lit up, and it had all these like red buttons on it that were lit up. That's really kind of all I remember seeing of like what it looked like. It was a black device with all this high tech stuff. And instantly I realized that he had been using this device to gather knowledge and information about Americans, their habits, how they live their lives. He had detailed information. And this device was also used for sending signals to the Russians.
In my recent vision, I saw as clearly as I've ever seen anything in a vision. The details were as plain as they could possibly be. And what I saw was a major city in the United States of America. I couldn't identify the city, I just knew it was a major city in the United States of America. That city had been destroyed. It was utter destruction. And what I saw in the vision was a military helicopter flying overhead, and the side door of that helicopter was open. And I saw an Asian soldier that was sitting in that helicopter that was flying by, and I knew in the dream that he was Chinese. And on the side of the helicopter was the medical plus sign. I don't know if there's a better term for it than that, but you know what I'm talking about, the plus sign that would indicate that it was a medical helicopter. I have a few thoughts as to why there would have been a medical helicopter flying over a destroyed city in the U.S. with a Chinese soldier in it, but I'm not going to get into all of that. The point, I believe, of the vision that you need to get is there's coming a point in time, I don't know when, but it is coming, that China will also be in America for some reason. Now, in the dream that I had, I was recalling the fact that Russia and China came against America. I've never, prior to the last few weeks, seen China come against America. And again, 8 years or so ago, I saw Russia come against America in a dream. But in this dream, I saw them both. Now, I don't know if they come at the same time. From what I gather in the dream, I suspect they come at least at a time close one to another. I don't know when that'll be, but I know this. I believe with my entire heart that what I've been shown is of the Lord, that Russia for sure will come against America, and China too will come against America in some way, shape, or form, and there will be boots on the ground at some time. Now, I say that not to scare you, but to give you hope and to say that Jesus is coming. He will not forsake his people. He has not forgotten us. He will not leave us. He has got us on his mind, and he is coming. Russia and China, they're coming, but I'm telling you, more importantly, Jesus is coming, and he's coming quickly, and he's coming for his people. I encourage you now to fix your eyes on the sky. The King of Glory is coming in a hurry. Now is not the time to be fooling around with sin. Put away your sin, put away the carnal works of the flesh, and look unto Jesus, because he is coming, folks. I'm telling you, I don't know if the church will face certain measures of trying times before Jesus comes. It's very possible, but I know this: God will gather his people, and I believe that gathering is soon. And right now, I want to encourage you to look up and lift up your eyes, because your redemption draweth nigh. I'm telling